is Hillary Adams. I am currently the director of the Marshall University Help Program, and we are here today to talk about neurodiversity. I think what's cool about the whole neurodiversity movement is just the idea that when we put these supports in place for a neurodivergent student or for a neurodivergent employee, you're putting them in place for everyone. So the first thing that always comes to mind for me is universal design learning. So when we talk about UDL, for the longest time, again, it's been around for a while. I think it's starting to gain more and more traction. Most faculty members in college have heard of it. Most K through 12 folks have heard of it. But in the beginning, it was all about that's for a very particular subset of students. You know, that's going to take me extra time. But universal design learning is such a unique thing because it's truly just laying the groundwork to create different modalities of learning, to open the doors for students who might be more visual versus more auditory versus more hands-on. And it's giving them like a buffet of opportunities to where they can pick and choose how they want to learn. And I think sometimes a misconception too is that once you pick your way of learning, that's the only way you learn. But generally, students might learn certain topics in one mode better versus another. One of the things that, especially going into like online learning, for example, the expectation is kind of like you have to be hyper organized. You are almost your own professor, even though they have given you this beautiful framework of how to learn it. You have to time manage, you have to prioritize. And executive functioning doesn't always come easily for the neurodivergent population. So when they see this online course, if you've got very consistent ways that you have developed your classroom online, if you've got very consistent deadlines, this is a silly example, but we have some professors who they think they're doing our students a favor by saying, instead of the night before at 11:59 p.m., I'm going to make this due right before class at 10 a.m. so that you have that little extra time in the morning to get it done. But all that does is create multiple different time frames that they have to remember instead of knowing everything's always due at 11:59 p.m. So if we have consistency in the coursework, if we have professors who are willing to maybe change up a typical lecture style, it's going to keep students engaged. But I am all about my co-pilot right now, and so just asking AI some ways in which you can take your current curriculum and make it a little more neurodivergent friendly. It will create the coolest project ideas. It will say like, hey, if you normally have an essay exam, why don't you consider doing X, Y, and Z as alternative assignments? Also, playing around with some of these tools a little bit more, like recognizing what a text-to-reader platform sounds like, knowing how your current course materials can be uploaded into that, and is it easy to do? Is it difficult? If it's difficult, maybe I can reach out to my friends on Marshall's campus to teach me how to make it more accessible. Making sure that you're inviting these students to come and speak during office hours, that you're empathizing with maybe that they're having some challenges, and being just as supportive as possible to say, hey, we've got the supports on campus, we have resources, I'm here to help you. If I don't have the answers, somebody else is. So inviting students, that it might be intimidating at first because you don't want to pry, but in reality, they've probably been hoping and waiting for somebody to ask. Well, and if they learn the skills to advocate for themselves, if they learn what strategies work for them in college, then all of a sudden they get to the workplace and they can articulate what they need. And a lot of times it's something as simple as, hey, as my supervisor, could I check in with you every Monday for 15 minutes? And I'm just going to show you my priority list, and you let me know if I'm on the mark. Something that simple can create so much less anxiety and stress for that individual who wasn't sure if they're prioritizing properly. And it reinforces to that employer, like, I can see that they care and they're getting done what I want them to get done. It creates efficiency, it creates trust. So if we lay the groundwork in college for them to figure out exactly what they need to succeed, then they can go to an employer and say, hey, I'm gonna ask for these 2 or 3 things, but guess what? It means I'm gonna stick around longer and I'm gonna be efficient and I'm gonna be the absolute best employee that you could have.